She parked her car on my ranch without asking, so I locked the gate and vanished for a week. When I came back, she had sold my stuff, renamed my barn, and started a full-blown wellness cult. That's when I decided it was time for war. Where are you watching from? Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. It started with a bright pink paper slapped on my front door. Notice of violation, unauthorized structure, wooden gate blocking community access. I didn't build a new gate. I had lived on my 5-acre ranch for 5 quiet years before the HOA came into power. I liked my peace, my land, my freedom, until Karen moved into the modern house across the gravel road. She wore a shiny whistle around her neck, always, even to the mailbox. Last week, she stood at the edge of my driveway, pointing and taking photos. Her tiny white dog barked nonstop. I asked what the problem was. She smiled and said, "I'll let the board decide." Now, this pink paper said I was blocking community access, but this was my ranch. No one had the right to park here, certainly not HOA members who thought they owned the sun. I went outside to check my gate, and that's when I saw it. Karen's silver SUV was parked inside my ranch, just behind the gate on my grass. She had opened it, driven in, and parked like she owned the place. I checked my camera footage. It was Karen. She keyed in the emergency code used for fire and maintenance, slipped inside, and made herself at home. I didn't call the police. Instead, I locked the gate. Then I packed a bag and disappeared for the week. I left my phone at home. I didn't want texts, calls, or Karens screaming through the gate's intercom. I stayed at my cousin's lake cabin, sipping sweet tea and fishing while Karen stewed. By day 1, my neighbors were talking. "Myra left?" one said. "No way, I saw lights on in her house last night." Karen stood outside my locked gate with her whistle, red in the face. She tried to climb over. She tried to call the emergency board line, but she got no answer. Because the HOA president, he was on a cruise with no Wi-Fi. By sunset, Karen had dragged a lawn chair next to her SUV and sat there waiting, like a lonely queen without her court. Meanwhile, I was roasting marshmallows, until a friend texted me something strange using my cousin's phone. "Hey, why's Karen telling folks she's house-sitting for you?" Wait, what? Karen was telling the whole HOA that I had asked her to watch my house. She was lying, but I let her lie. I wanted to see how far she'd go. And the next morning, she went even further. She held a yard sale on my front porch. I nearly dropped my coffee when I saw the pictures. Karen had dragged a table from my garage and set up a full yard sale in front of my porch. She had hung a sign, "Estate sale, all must go." She wasn't just selling her things. She was selling mine. Old tools, lawn chairs, a pair of boots I wore once, even my grandmother's rocking chair. It was sitting out front with a sticker that read, "Vintage Vibe, $25. A neighbor filmed the whole thing and posted it on the community Facebook group. "Wow, didn't know Myra moved out. Hope she's okay," one person commented. "She didn't move. That Karen lady is trespassing," another replied. Somebody finally tagged me in the thread. Karen was caught holding up a blender, saying, "She said I could get rid of anything that looks old." I started laughing, but not a happy laugh. A "what kind of movie am I in" laugh. I called the local police, but when I told them I had voluntarily locked my gate and left for a trip, they said, "Ma'am, sounds like a civil matter. Maybe talk to your HOA." I didn't want to talk to the HOA. I wanted to watch the show. And then I got a text that changed everything. "Karen just sold your riding mower." The riding mower wasn't just a tool. It was my baby. A deep red, zero-turn engine beast that purred like a kitten and cut like a scalpel. And Karen sold it for $300 to Todd, the HOA treasurer. Todd was nice, but clueless. When I messaged him asking if he bought a mower, he responded with, "Yeah, Karen said it was part of your downsizing. Great deal. Want me to Venmo you the money?" So now Karen was making money off my land while telling people I had moved on to spiritual minimalism. Spiritual minimalism? I knew she was nuts. But now she was writing fiction. That night, I called my friend Donna, who lived across the street. "Donna, can you check the ranch? Just drive by." She did, and what she told me made me grab my keys. Karen put up a sign that says, Karen Ranch, community tours welcome. She's giving people a walking tour of your property. My mouth dropped. I was gone 2 days. An HOA Karen had renamed my land. I packed my bag. I was heading home, but I wasn't going in through the front gate. I didn't drive to the front gate. Karen had it blocked with plastic flowers, a folding table, and a poster board that read, Karen Ranch, celebrating community simplicity. Instead, I took the back trail. Only a few people knew about it, an old dirt road behind the woods that led to my shed. I parked, grabbed my flashlight, and tiptoed in like I was breaking into my own home. When I reached the house, I peered through the window. There she was, Karen, sitting on my couch, sipping my lemonade, flipping through a book I never gave her. Her little dog was chewing the edge of a throw pillow. But it gets worse. On the wall above the fireplace, taped with cheap clear tape, was a banner, Karen Appreciation Night, HOA board only. She was throwing a party, in my home, without me. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I wasn't just going to kick her out. I was going to expose her. The front door was unlocked, because of course it was. Karen believed she lived here now. I stepped inside slowly. No one saw me at first, until Todd turned and said, "Oh, hey, Myra." Karen said you were off finding yourself in the mountains. Everyone froze. Karen stood up, gripping her lemonade cup like it was a weapon. "Myra," she said too loudly, "you're back early." I smiled. "Oh no, Karen, you're leaving early." I showed everyone the footage on my phone. Her breaking in, the yard sale, the riding mower sale, and now this HOA board meeting in my living room. The silence in the room could have cooked an egg. Karen tried to save face. "She gave me permission," she shouted. I calmly pointed to the sign by the door that still said, "Private property, no trespassing." Todd quietly put down the paper plate of cupcakes he was holding. Mrs. Dill, the HOA secretary, whispered. I knew something was weird when she called the chickens her birds. Karen tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. Then her dog peed on the rug, and I said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You all have 10 minutes to get out." After that, I called the sheriff. Karen's face went pale, but I wasn't done yet, because what I found in my bedroom changed everything. The crowd left fast. No one wanted to be part of a lawsuit. But Karen, she lingered. "I just wanted to help the community," she muttered, grabbing her purse and hurrying out like she didn't just throw a party in someone else's house. I waited until the last taillight disappeared. Then I went upstairs to my bedroom. I expected to find some of my clothes gone, maybe a broken lamp. But what I didn't expect was a twin mattress set up on my bedroom floor, with Karen's initials stitched into a throw pillow. She'd been sleeping in my room. Worse, she had posted printed photos of her and her dog posing around the house. One of them was framed and sitting on my nightstand like a family portrait. I checked my drawers. My favorite hoodie, gone. My socks, mixed with hers. And on the mirror, written in pink lipstick, were the words, "Claim your space, Queen." My heart pounded. Was this real life? Karen hadn't just squatted. She'd moved in emotionally. I sat on the edge of the bed and laughed, then cried, then laughed again. But it wasn't over, because someone had slipped an envelope under my door. The envelope had no name, just the HOA letterhead and the words, "Confidential for Myra only." Inside was a typed letter, no signature. It read, "Karen has been manipulating the HOA board for months. She rewrote the bylaws while pretending to organize the files. She installed herself as vice chair during a meeting no one attended. She's dangerous. Watch your back." My hands trembled. Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor with a whistle. She was a power-hungry mole. She'd changed the rules behind everyone's backs, and now she was trying to own my home by squatting on it. I checked the HOA portal. She had listed my ranch as a community event venue under shared space opportunities. She was planning something bigger, and if I didn't stop her now, she might get legal rights to parts of my land. I had a week before the next HOA meeting, but I wasn't waiting that long, because just then, I heard Karen's voice outside, talking to a contractor. She was pointing at my barn. "Yeah," she said, "this is where the wellness center will go." My blood ran cold. Karen was building a spa on my land. I ran downstairs and peeked out the window. Karen stood proudly next to two confused-looking contractors, pointing at my barn like it was an empty sandbox. She held a clipboard and a printed diagram with the title, Karen's Harmony House, Community Wellness Retreat. It had meditation zones, herbal tea stations, and a chicken therapy corner. Yes, chicken therapy. I stormed out the door. Karen, what do you think you're doing? She turned, smiled, and said, Oh, good. You're home. I was going to text you, but I figured you'd want to be surprised. I blinked. You're building on my land. Karen waved the clipboard. It's for the HOA. You said yourself this ranch was underused. I never said that. Well, she huffed, you also never attended the quarterly meeting, so you missed the vote. What vote? She grinned. The one where we decided that underutilized private properties could be nominated as shared benefit zones. My mouth dropped open. That's not legal, she shrugged. It passed 3-1. Majority rules. One of the contractors interrupted, holding up a tape measure. So, are we digging or what? Karen turned to them. Start measuring. She'll come around. And I knew I had one choice left. I had to beat her at her own game before she turned my ranch into a yoga retreat with goat meditation. I called Donna. Meet me in 10, I whispered. Bring coffee in your loudest mouth. Donna showed up in a neon hoodie and fire in her eyes. I brought extra sugar, she said, handing me the cup. What's the plan? I explained everything, Karen's secret bylaws, the fake event space, and the wellness center scam. Donna gasped. Girl, she even asked me to donate throw pillows for the meditation barn. Said it was a sacred circle of silence. I had to act fast. We called an emergency unofficial HOA meeting at my place. And to my surprise, people came. Even Todd showed up with a guilty face and a folding chair. We passed around printed screenshots of the bylaws before Karen touched them. We highlighted the changes she made in secret. We even showed the footage of her yard sale and the framed photo of her in my bedroom. The room was silent until Todd said, I think we've made a big mistake. Donna stood up and shouted, Karen tried to steal a ranch. She turned this place into a weird summer camp without permission, everyone murmured. Then the garage door opened. Karen walked in, holding a tray of cookies. I made gluten-free snickerdoodles, she chirped, and froze, because the entire board was staring at her. Todd stood. Karen, you're suspended from all HOA activity, effective immediately. Her smile dropped, and she dropped the cookie tray with a crash. But she didn't leave. She just stared at me, eyes burning, and whispered, This isn't over. The next morning, I woke up to find 6 citations taped to my front door, all from the HOA. Citation number 1, grass over regulation height. My grass was 2 inches. Citation number 2, unauthorized chicken roaming. They were in a fenced coop. Citation number 3, offensive signage. I had a sign that said private property, not Karen's. Citation number 4-6, duplicate citations. She had copied and pasted the same violation 3 times and just changed the font. I laughed at first, until I checked my mailbox and saw the HOA fine notice, $1,200 due in 10 days. Karen had gone rogue. Though she'd been suspended from board meetings, she still had access to the admin panel of the HOA portal, and she was using it to wage war. Donna texted me 5 minutes later, Myra, check the community newsletter, now. The newsletter was online. Front page. Title, Unstable Ranch Owner Endangers HOA Unity, a cautionary tale. Under it was a photo of me taken through my window, eating a bowl of cereal in my pajamas. She had photoshopped a wine bottle on the table. The article accused me of hoarding animals, building spiritual barriers, and harboring resentment energy. I nearly choked on my own rage. Karen was trying to ruin my name. And then, I found out what she had planned for the wellness barn next. Todd called me in the evening. He sounded out of breath. Myra, he said, you need to see what Karen submitted to the HOA event calendar before we locked her out. He forwarded the file. I opened it. Karen had scheduled a 3-day energy renewal retreat inside my barn. Attendees, 28. Events included breathwork and Reiki with Karen, guided forgiveness journaling, midnight land cleanse ritual, chicken blessing ceremony at dawn. At the bottom of the flyer, in fine print, suggested donation, $250. All proceeds support HOA Harmony. She wasn't just squatting anymore. She was trying to start a cult on my ranch. I showed Donna. She burst into laughter and said, "Girl, we're going to end up on Netflix." But I wasn't laughing. Karen had crossed the line from annoying to criminally insane. It was time to lawyer up. But before I could even start searching for legal help, Karen went live on Facebook in front of my barn, wearing white linen, holding a chicken and whispering, "Forgive the haters. They fear what they don't understand." And thousands of people were watching. By noon the next day, 3 vans pulled up near the edge of my property. They were painted with phrases like, "Cleanse your life," "Let the land heal you," "Karen's light circle," "Walk in peace," "Leave in power." Out came a group of people wearing flowing white clothing, barefoot, and carrying yoga mats. I watched from my upstairs window as they approached the gate. Karen stood there, welcoming each one like she was greeting royalty. "Namaste, sisters," she whispered. Sisters looked like they had come from all over the country. One wore a feather crown, another had a tiny gong. I ran downstairs, threw open the front door, and marched toward the fence. "You are all trespassing," I said as calmly as I could. "This land is private. Karen does not live here. Karen does not own this land." One woman bowed. "You must be the shadow." "The what?" "Karen warned us you were still in resistance." I blinked. "She said you were the negative energy we had to release from the space." I stood there stunned. Karen was now casting me as a spiritual villain on my own property. That's when I saw her. She stepped forward, dressed in a long white shawl, holding a bundle of sage and a tambourine. She smiled and said, "You can't stop healing, Myra. Not even you." I didn't reply. I just pulled out my phone and called the sheriff. Sheriff Dawson arrived in 20 minutes. He'd been here before. Small town. Everyone knows everyone. He walked up slowly, eyeing the sage smoke in the air and the woman humming near my chicken coop. "What's going on here?" he asked. I explained everything. Karen stepped forward. "This is a protected spiritual gathering under the First Amendment. Look it up." Sheriff Dawson raised an eyebrow. "Not on someone else's land, it ain't." He looked at me. "You pressing charges?" "Yes," I said, "for trespassing. And identity fraud if that's an option." He sighed. "All right." He turned to Karen and said, "Ma'am, I need you and your friends to vacate the property. Now." Karen smiled like a cat who knew something he didn't. "You can ask us to leave, but you'll be on video, and this," she pointed at her phone live streaming to thousands, "is being broadcast." Her viewers were already commenting, "The system hates love. She's being silenced. Justice for Karen." Sheriff Dawson shrugged. "I don't care who's watching. This ain't your land." Karen hesitated, then turned to her people and said, "Let us rise above the hate. Let us leave her for now." They began packing their gongs and sage. But just before she walked off the property, Karen whispered to me, "Enjoy your peace, Myra. Because I'm not gone. I'm growing." Then she winked, and I realized something chilling. Karen didn't want my house. She wanted a movement. The next morning, I couldn't even enjoy my coffee in peace because my inbox flooded. News stations, bloggers, influencers, even a podcast producer named Terry with a Y wanted to interview the ranch lady who crushed the community healer. Apparently, the Facebook Live Karen did from my property had hit 1.2 million views overnight. She titled it, "My Healing Hijacked. They can steal the land, but not my light." Now I was being dragged in the comments as Myra the Menace, the chicken hoarder, the lady who hates energy. One woman called me a corporate plant sent to destroy natural joy. Another asked if I used pesticides on the grass to kill dreams. I sat at my kitchen table stunned while Donna read through the messages. She laughed so hard she snorted. "Myra, This one says you're funded by Big Oil to stop sage rituals. I wasn't laughing because Karen had just posted a GoFundMe titled, "Help Me Reclaim the Ranch for the People." And within 5 hours, she had already raised $11,428. I refreshed the page. A new donation popped up from someone named at Ho Spirit Lover. Let her lead. She sees what others fear. I looked at Donna. She's not just coming back, I said. She's building an army. The HOA office called me that afternoon. Hi, Myra. You've, received a legal complaint. From who? Karen. Of course. She's suing you for harassment, destruction of spiritual space, and interfering with a community enlightenment project. I nearly fell over. She also filed a motion to access the barn again as a religious recovery zone. The HOA lady whispered, "We're honestly just scared of her now." I hung up and paced the kitchen. Karen was trying to use religion laws to claim permanent access to my property. This wasn't a neighborhood issue anymore. It was a full-on turf war, with lawyers, media, and a fan base that believed in chakra chickens. I called a lawyer named Jill who specialized in HOA nonsense. She sighed deeply after I explained everything and said, "This might be the weirdest case I've heard all year, but I'll take it." "Thank you," I said. "What should I do now?" "Document everything, build a timeline, and be ready." Ready for what? Karen's the kind of person who doesn't just want to win. She wants to embarrass you. And if this goes to court, she's going to bring drama. Be ready for cameras, maybe even protesters. I hung up, and right then, a new email landed in my inbox. Subject: "You'll see the light soon." From Karen at harmonycircle.net. She had her own domain name now, and attached to the email, a flyer for Ranch Revival Weekend, location to be determined. But I already knew where she planned to host it. She still wanted my barn. By Saturday morning, the street outside my ranch looked like a circus. Dozens of people lined the road, holding signs like, "Let Karen heal," "Spiritual space is a human right," "Myra," "Landlord of Darkness." One guy even wore a homemade costume that looked like a chicken holding a candle. News vans arrived. A drone hovered over my property. A woman with purple hair and a megaphone chanted, "Set the chickens free." Donna and I stood at the kitchen window, watching in disbelief. "This can't be real," I whispered. "It's giving cult," she said, sipping tea. Then Karen appeared, standing in the bed of a pickup truck like she was running for mayor. She wore a white robe with gold trim and a necklace shaped like my barn. She raised her arms. "Myra locked me out, but she can't lock out love." The crowd cheered like she'd just cured a disease. That's when she shouted, "We're taking this to the courtroom in the Capitol. The ranch belongs to the people." I laughed, but inside I was boiling. And then I got a call from the lawyer. "Karen's filed an emergency injunction," Jill said. "She's asking the court to declare your barn a public-use spiritual site until the case is resolved." What? Can she even do that? She's trying. We've got 48 hours to respond. And just like that, it was official. I wasn't just fighting for peace. I was fighting for my land. I needed help. Fast. So I dug through my security camera archive. Karen had been on my property a lot longer than I thought. And in one video, time-stamped 2 weeks before the gate incident, I found gold. Karen stood in front of my barn with her little dog. She pulled a spray can from her tote bag and began tagging the side of the barn with the words, "Karen's Center for Natural Power." Then she took out a hammer. She tried to hang a handmade sign using 2 nails, one of which split the wood. Then she paused, looked into the distance and said, into her phone, clearly filming herself, "Day 1 of reclaiming the soul space. She doesn't know it yet, but this barn is going to change lives." I gasped. This wasn't just squatting. This was planned invasion. I sent the video to Jill. She called me back 2 hours later with a grin in her voice. "This changes everything. This shows premeditated intent to seize private property. It undercuts every single claim she's made." I smiled for the first time in days. Then I saw Karen on livestream again. She was crying in front of a campfire outside the ranch fence, surrounded by her followers. "They want to silence me. But I'll fight until the last drum beat, until the last chicken sings. I pressed pause, because I was about to make my next move, and it was going to be loud. I had the footage, I had the lawyer, I had the truth. But I needed one final blow to end Karen's circus before she turned my barn into a drum circle headquarters. So I made a plan. With Donna's help, I hosted a press conference right there on my front lawn. She brought a megaphone, cupcakes, and a Bluetooth speaker that blasted Beyoncé for confidence. I stepped up to the mic. Hello, neighbors, media, chicken sympathizers. My name is Myra James. I own this land, I built this home, and yes, those are my chickens. A small clap, then silence. Over the past 2 weeks, a woman named Karen falsely claimed spiritual rights over my property, held illegal gatherings, sold my belongings, and lied to all of you. Gasp from the HOA board. But today, I'm clearing the air. I played the video from my phone on the giant portable screen behind me. The spray paint, the hammer, the chicken chant. Gasps turned to gasps with pointing. One man in a Peace Warrior t-shirt muttered, "Wait, she said this was a gifted barn." Then Donna stepped up and said, "Karen also stole my patio chair and called it a healing throne." The crowd turned. Karen stood near the fence, silent for once, her white robe catching the wind like a movie villain's cape. That's when Sheriff Dawson stepped up. "Ma'am, I have an order from the court. Effective immediately, you are banned from this property and subject to criminal trespassing if you return." Karen dropped her tambourine. Her voice cracked. "This isn't how light works." I smiled, nodded, and said, "Goodbye, Karen." She turned slowly and walked off with her followers. But not before her dog stopped to pee on her own sandal. It's been 2 weeks since the final showdown. The signs are gone. The gongs are silent. The barn smells like fresh wood and peace again. Karen moved out of the neighborhood, supposedly to open a healing resort in Sedona. Rumor says it's actually a tent in her cousin's backyard. The HOA held a special election. Todd stepped down. Donna got voted in. First rule she passed? No member may claim ownership of land they don't legally possess. Common sense. But still, a milestone. As for me, I installed new gates, code protected. I built a chicken sanctuary, no blessings needed. And every now and then, when I'm sipping iced tea on my porch, I smile at the peace and quiet until a package arrives. It's from an unknown sender. Inside is a candle, a feather, and a note that says, "Healing never ends." K. I toss it in the trash. Then go collect my eggs. Because some people try to bring chaos, but others just want their ranch back.